My goggled friend had been doing some digging around of his own and had turned up something in the dunes nearby. There was no doubt the remains buried here were of an animal. Bits of teeth and part of a mouth were beginning to come into view as we brushed away the sand. And after delicate excavation, we made a discovery that shocked us all. My goggled friend had been doing some digging around of his own and had turned up something in the dunes nearby. It was a dinosaur.
Is it common to find stuff like this out here?
Not common.
We took a fossil sample for carbon dating tests and tagged the coordinates on GPS to send back to the museum in Ulaanbaatar. As much as I wanted to stay and live out a nerdy Jurassic Park fantasy, I had to press on to continue my investigation.
We will see what we find when we go further south.
The sun dropped beneath the horizon of the Gobi Desert and the thermometer reading fell with it. We blazed on through the night toward Dallangazad, an isolated southern city where we'd rest before continuing on to investigate the death worm in an abandoned village deep in the Gobi Desert. After a 21-hour drive, we arrived in the drab, tiny town of Dallangazad. This being the only urban outpost before our final destination, I decided to search out the word on the street about the death worm. My first interview was with a man named Ergi, who relocated here from the abandoned village.
Where did you have this sighting?
When he saw this creature, his horse got agitated.
Okay.
And he saw something sticking out from the ground. Reddish-looking color.
Ergi also mentioned that it wasn't smart to wear yellow when traveling around the Gobi because the color seemed to attract the death worm.
Does this in any way resemble what he saw?
There weren't any teeth.
But did the body look smooth or was it segmented? They were not very deep, but it did have small segments in the body.
And even though the idea of attracting this creature with the color yellow sounded pretty far-fetched to me, I was following every lead I could and decided to head to the local market in search of yellow fabric.
Will I blend with the locals?
I think so.
Hello. Does he know what the death worm is? Tell him that I was told that the death worm is attracted to the color yellow. If this fabric catches a death worm, I'm coming back here. I'm going to have you make me some robes.
You can't go hunting for a death worm on an empty stomach, so I decided to investigate the market for some local delicacies.
And what's this stuff?
Dried yogurt.
Huh.
You want to try some?
Yeah, sure. Boy, they really do dry it out, don't they?
Is it good?
It's really good, yeah. It's delicious.
Yoplait or Dannon reps take note, the market for yogurt snacks in Mongolia is wide open. We were now in a race against the sun. It was imperative that we got to our investigation site by dusk in order to avoid setting up our gear in sub-zero temperatures. We had no time to lose. The journey from Dallangazad to our village in the west took us through more spectacular desolation and deeper into outer Mongolia. With time nearly out, we finally arrived at the remains of the deserted settlement.
The locals, pointed us to this area again and again and said that this is the spot to be, so...
Right.
As the team raced to set up the investigation equipment, I discovered that there was in fact one last resident in the town. I went to talk to him to find out what happened here and to get any final death worm words of wisdom.
Is he familiar with the story of the death worm? Has he seen the worm personally?
He heard a lot of noises, and the noises from around neighbors, and that's why they all left.
If these people have all left, why does he stay here? Why does he stay in this remote place?
It says he stays here in respect of his father and brothers who died here.
Thank you very much for your time.
Our plan was to canvass the entire settlement with infrared cameras mounted to give us a wide view of the valley. We've heard the death worm is a sucker for yellow, so one of the cameras would be fixed on our bait, a bolt of yellow fabric. In addition, our night vision cameras would cut through the darkness to help us scan the terrain. Underground microphones and a seismic sensor would help us search beneath the sand, and our most powerful ally, the FLIR thermal imager, would pinpoint any creatures in the biting cold from hundreds of feet away.
You think it's worth throwing a camera on them?
Yeah, these holes all interconnect underground. So that's our opening to the realm of the death worm.
So anything that the computer picks up coming through that screen, we're gonna hear an alarm. That alarm will go off.
Great. Sounds great.
Cool.
I decided to leave the team and go on a little recon of the area. This thermal imager will pick up anything that gives off heat, and it displays it in colors. The darker the color, the colder the object. Blues and blacks are very cold. The hottest objects on here will be seen as white. It's a moth. Anything that's white or red or yellow is giving off enough heat that it has to be organic.
Josh, come in. You still in radio contact?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Is anything out there?
Pretty icy right now. The fluid's not picking up very much. It's just a lot of cold rocks right now.
Our batteries are dying awfully quick in this cold.
Okay. I'm going to swing back around the side of this bank. I'll probably meet up with you guys back there in the next 10 to 15 minutes. Guys, can you read me? I think I found something down here. There's another one of these holes in the ground that we saw earlier, but it looks like what looks like a trail or a drag mark coming out of it. Why don't you break out that evidence kit? Let's take some samples of the sand here. This definitely looks like a drag mark or a trail of some kind. We can test the soil, see if there's any organic material present or any sort of acidity levels that are out of the ordinary.
Copy that. Let me gather some materials and we'll head on down.
Well, that certainly looks like something went in or out of there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You can see there's even residual heat along the trail. You see it?
Yeah.
All in here.
Everybody we talked to was saying it was about this big around.
Right.
I mean, this big around is that track.
There's a real trace of something, moving in or out of there.
Or something still in there.
Brad, stick your hand in there.
Well, let's get Ponch, see if we can pick up anything inside there.
For sure. Brad, why don't you use the seismograph and see if you can pick up any vibrations coming from the ground around the hole. You got the underground microphone? Yes. Okay. Everybody up here is going to have to be super still when we really...
Yeah, because it sounds like something's moving. Let's stop for a minute.
Just saw a small seismograph hit on here.
Yeah, it sounds like something shuffling a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah, I just heard that.
Yeah, there's one more.
There certainly are rodents and marmots and things like that live here. What's really uncharacteristic, though, is to see like this kind of a drag trail leading down one of these holes. It's just not something that you would associate with rodents coming in and out of these holes. Why don't we take some samples of the soil to test for high levels of acidity, which could indicate the presence of the death worm.
Oh my God.
It's ready.
Heat tracks.
Oh, I don't want to do this.
Are you sticking your hand down in there? I'm all for digging in. Are you sticking your hand down in there?
There's nothing organic. Droppings, sort of rodent kind of...
You want to dig it out, Josh?
Something is definitely moving down there.
Maybe we should kind of bust it open a bit, see what we can see. Let's just go straight down.
Did you see that?
No.
Like an orange flash. Twice I saw it, like at the ground level. It's like a pin size, like an orange. But there's nobody in this valley.
No.
And
Well, we'll peel over there. All right, guys, I think the trail to this hole is run dry. Let's pack it up here and head out to investigate the flashes that Brad saw. They say the death worm has an electrical charge and can electrocute its victims, so I think it's worth chasing down the orange flashes you saw. So this river is partially frozen, and our first real challenge is going to be finding a safe spot to cross over it. We should press up a little bit further.
Guys, I think we have some movement. We got an alarm going off on camera 2.
Striker is probably just this fabric blowing in the wind that set off the motion sensor.
Let us know if you hear anything else.
You've had, people claiming sightings of this creature for over 100 years,
Right.
And there are these really specific characteristics that it has. It spits acid, it has this specific color, all these certain things, and yet the amount of physical evidence for this creature's existence is almost none.
Right. Nobody's been able to produce anything on it.
Let's split up and move around the ruins for a bit. Maybe something will surprise us.
I think I got something going on over here.
Hey, Josh, getting a pretty strong reading over here.
Obviously, the EMF detector reads an electrical charge in the air, and I brought it because they say the death worm emits an electrical charge. I mean, I can't explain what else in the ground would put off a charge like this.
Something's eating over here.
Here's your entry point right here. Huge hole.
It's pretty hot on the thermal imager, too.
Hey, Jackson.
Yeah, I read you. What's going on?
We're not down.
I've lost a seismograph computer as well as one of our night vision surveillance camera computers. So we've got equipment dropping like crazy up here.
But whatever equipment you can keep up and running, just stay with it.
Despite an exhaustive search, we found no evidence of what may have caused the orange lights or what could have set off the EMF detector. Our frigid investigation left us with a couple of hot leads. I intended to further analyze all of our evidence, including the soil sample from the hole where the EMF detector went crazy, and the sample from the hole with the mysterious track or drag mark coming in and out of it.
What's that?
Something just flipped out down here. You hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. It came about right on the other side of the water. It was loud. Careful, man.
Oh, that's what that monk told us. He said that people vacated here because they just heard these weird noises over and over, which they thought was the death worm. I don't hear it now.
Well, we've had the seismograph go down, as well as our main monitoring station for all of our cameras that are placed out.
What's that a product of? The cold?
Yeah, I think the batteries are just freezing everything up.
Okay, well, obviously we've only this camera and one other one that haven't been just torn apart by the cold. So I think at this point we should break it down and look over the the soil samples and stuff is really the only thing that we can really analyze at this point. With 95% of our equipment failed, I think it's time we maybe find some nomads to let us shack up for the night with them.
We flew back to Los Angeles to meet with Carol Case, a researcher at Babcock & Sons Labs. By checking the pH levels of the samples, she would be able to conclude whether or not a highly acidic creature had burrowed through the ground that night. We sent you a base sample from just surrounding soil and then a couple of target samples for us that we were hoping would indicate a different level of pH or a different level of acidity. Is there any difference in the soil samples at all?
They were all basically about neutral, all 4 samples that we tested.
So no high levels of acidity anywhere in the soil?
No.
With the soil samples not acidic and yielding 0 organic matter from which to pull a DNA strand, we turned our attention to the seismograph readings and strange sounds coming from the first hole we found. Upon further review, we found no evidence that could even begin to build a case for the death worm. My team and I were ready to close the books. The dry soil and frigid temperatures of the Gobi Desert are too great a match for any worm. Locals here may have been seeing anything from a desert snake to the acid-spraying bombardier beetle. Or perhaps this is just a cautionary tale to scare nomadic children. Whatever the case may be, the vast dunes of Mongolia hold the remains of some of the most mysterious animals on Earth, still waiting to be discovered. And as for me, I had a flight to catch and another adventure waiting for me.
504 Ping Pong